So, my story is pretty unique because so when I started programming, I absolutely hated it. I I wasn't very good at it and I just didn't really like it. So, I'm sure you guys are all wondering like why? Why would you major in something that you hated, right? It's a great question. And in order to understand why I would do that, you really have to understand my story and my background. So it all kind of started back when I was in high school and I joined the robotics team. So as you can see, I was in the workshop, helping with the robot, but I don't know if any of you are in robotics, but I was not being very safe. My safety glasses were on top of my head. My hair was not in a ponytail, even though there was lots of like there's a robot being built behind me and some machines to my right and left. And then there's all the wires, and I look back at this picture and it's terrible. I can't believe this. But anyway, I joined the robotics team because some of my friends were like, "Hey, it'd be super cool if you tried this out." And I was like, all right, I can do like the business plan and helping out with events and stuff, but I probably can't build the robot, right? Anyway, so I ended up really loving robotics because I was able to do a lot. I was able to teach a lot of camps, um, and I got to go to the United Nations and talk. I got to go to Poland even, and we got to go meet their president. Um, and that's also at the United Nations. And that's the part of robotics and STEM that I kind of fell in love with was the outreach side and like helping other people. So anyway, there was this, I won this Twist Epic Award back at my senior year of high school for doing outreach type stuff. And it was super cool. And I kind of met target people and got to do all that. Um, then I went to Bethel University for computer science, but still at this time, I really did not like programming at all. I just wasn't very good at it and I didn't love it that much. But I knew like for programming, there's so many opportunities um, from, um, yeah, there's just so many different opportunities you can have with computer science. And I knew I could do like fun events and I could help more with like the business idea, like kind of coming up with ideas you guys came up with today and developing those ideas. Um, but I got to go to the Women in Technology Symposium this last summer, and that was amazing. I got to hear all sorts of cool stories from people and meet a lot of other females in technology, which is amazing because at Bethel, I am the only girl in the computer science program, so I'm like, we really have to change this. Anyway, that was my desk last summer at a healthcare startup I got to intern with, and this was really cool. It was a great experience. I loved the programming. I started to like programming a little bit more because I started to get better at it. Um, anyway, but I kept doing like all this fun outreach stuff. I got to volunteer with the Minnesota Tech Association, and I stayed involved with FIRST and helped out with events. And also aspirations in computing, like you guys are doing right now. I just got involved with them, and it's amazing to get more girls involved in technology. Um, and then, so up until this point, though, I still didn't really like programming. But then this this past summer at Target, I was an intern and got to work from home and everything. Um, but basically, last fall, I started to really like programming, which is like crazy because I never actually expected I was gonna like programming. But I ended up loving it. So I came up with some easy steps to like programming. Um, but so lesson number one for me is that passion is unnecessary when you're starting out. There's this idea when you're choosing your major that you have to be super passionate about it before you even start it off. Oh, let's see, I've got to let some people in um, to the participants. Hey, Russell, I don't know if you can work on that, letting the people into the room. Sorry about this, guys. One second. Let me admit everybody. There we go.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them.
Oh, let's see. Maybe I need to make you a host too. Fun technical difficulties. There we go. I got everybody in. No problem.
Okay.
Maybe I just
Good.
need to make you a co-host again.
You're just power tripping, Katie. You know, you're in that captain chair now.
Oh, I know, right? Let's see. There we go. It's totally good. You just gotta go with the flow. But
Yeah, that's right.
but yeah, so from like my programming experience, but yeah, kind of that passion, like when I started out, I wasn't super passionate about computer science, but I really liked the idea that there's a lot of opportunities in the computer science field. So for me, following your passion wasn't really useful advice. And my tip here is that, like, as you get better at something, the passion kind of comes after that. And passion is kind of a side effect of mastering something. So if you're not like crazy passionate about any one thing, like, don't worry about it. Cause I feel like that's something I worried about. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not really passionate about any topic. So yeah, my next lesson I kind of learned is instead of focus on finding the right work. So instead of focusing on finding the right work, focus on working right. And the key is to force yourself through the work, and the skills will come. And that's the hardest space, especially for programming. It's so hard to force yourself through a lot of that learning at first, and just focus on like doing your best and being a great teammate and being just great at what you do. This next lesson I learned from one of my favorite books. It's So Good They Can't Ignore You, but it's called the Craftsman Mindset. So he introduces these two kind of mindsets. There's like the passion mindset and the craftsman mindset. So the craftsman mindset focuses on what can you offer the world, and the passion mindset focuses on what the world can offer you. So sometimes with the passion mindset, it kind of feels like you're missing out, because if the world isn't offering you anything, you kind of feel like, oh no, what's happening? But with the craftsman mindset, you just focus on becoming really, really good at your skills. And that's the really hard phase. But if you kind of have that picture of a craftsman of just becoming really, really good at what you do, that has really helped me to kind of develop my skills and everything. So the next thing I kind of have learned is don't focus on loving what you do. And the more you kind of focus on loving what you do, the less you end up loving it. Instead, it's also kind of like being a craftsman and focusing on just becoming really, really good at what you do and just doing your best. And then you're loving it as kind of a side effect. And another thing I've kind of learned is a lot of times we think of love as a feeling and not as an action. So if you feel love, right, like it feels really good, but sometimes if you love something, you have to put in hard work, and it's not the funnest. So the next lesson I've kind of picked up is a great career takes a lot of work. So no one owes you a great career. You really have to earn it, and it won't be easy sometimes. But if you do put in the work, and attending events like this is a great way to kind of like build your network and develop your skills. And what you have to do is kind of focusing on developing rare and valuable skills, because a great career is both rare and valuable. So if you want that, you also have to develop skills that are rare and valuable. And as you grow in your ability, your options for careers and opportunities are also going to grow. So this next lesson I learned is deliberate practice. So back when I was in high school and elementary school, I played the piano. So I was a piano player for 12 years. And what I'd do is my mom would set a timer for 30 minutes and I'd have to practice piano. Um, but I really didn't like it, right? So I would just play the same song over and over again and get really, really good at one thing. But the problem was like I was super bad at everything else. Like I couldn't really sight read. I couldn't play that many songs, but I was really good at a couple songs. So the thing with this is that it's less about how much time you spend practicing and more about what you do with those hours. Um, and you should try to focus on constantly stretching yourself beyond what you're comfortable because that's how you grow. And that's like very often the hardest phase. And the last lesson I learned is seek opportunities instead of contemplating your calling. So a lot of times it's easy to get into just thinking about like, what am I meant to do? And there's so many options and it gets really confusing. But if you seek opportunities and seek to try things out, a lot of times that's really helpful. And then you'll kind of figure out what your calling is after that. So like if you think something would be cool, just go try it out. And that's something that's helped me out. So one of the main things to focus on is developing those rare and valuable skills. I'm just gonna let somebody in real quick again. Let's see. You guys get to see the behind the scenes of Zoom. So let's see. But yeah, focusing on developing those rare and valuable skills have been really helpful for me. And the ways I kind of did that I mentioned earlier is like volunteering is a great way to develop like leadership opportunities in a network and participating in different events. But yeah, so thank you guys for listening. I don't know, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to ask. But yeah, also, if you have LinkedIn, you can just use your phone to take a picture of the LinkedIn barcode and it will pop you over there. But thank you guys for listening. I will pop you in, but feel free to message me if you have any questions or want to talk more. There we go. All right.
I'm going to give you some quick feedback, Katie.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing those lessons. You know, those are lessons. I'm an old guy. I'm the old guy in the group here, and it's great to be reminded how important it is to try opportunities. And because, you know, I'm kind of in the same boat, you know, when everything went COVID upside down, we had to make some choices about what are we going to do? Are we going to kind of just not be relevant anymore? Or are we going to change and do some things differently? And that really was about taking risks and trying some new opportunities and learning some new things. And so that's what we're doing today, right? We're kind of trying these kind of more virtual experiences, and we're really learning from them. So thanks, Katie, for leading this and for sharing your lessons. Pretty amazing that you kind of developed these life lessons at your early age. So keep it up.
Thanks, Russ. That's awesome. So I am just